Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach,
And I'm Pepper.
and today we're reacting to the most recent Garphill announcement video for 2023. And I think this is either the second or third time we've reacted to Garphill videos.
Yeah, I
Only
forget
second? I don't know.
which ones we did. We might have done it 2 times, but not sure.
It kind of
We've done
feels
a
like we
few
did.
reactions
Yeah,
overall.
I know we've done at least one. And we may have done two. I don't remember. But anyway, I feel like I'm probably the one that gets most excited about the Garfield news. So I think this is one of the videos. Like I said, I don't know how many years they've kind of done these, if it's just been a couple or not. Um, but these ones are some that I'm probably most excited for. It's kind of like the Stonemeyer teasers that Jamie has done the last 2 years.
Yeah,
I've been excited for those as well. But this is probably a little bit more because they announced their games, whereas Jamie kind of keeps his a little bit more close to the
yeah,
chest, I would say. Doesn't
yeah,
really spoil them until they're ready, whereas this gives you a little bit of a taste of what's coming next. So,
yeah. Yeah,
um,
it's always interesting to see, especially when it is a little more early on in the process here. And I think they touched on a little bit in this video that Inventors, which they kind of talked about here, they had announced and talked about in a previous one of these videos. And they kind of touched on how it has changed and how a lot of what they originally said actually didn't end up making it into the game. So I think it's
right,
interesting to kind of see a little transparent kind of the process of how things change.
right, yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree 100% with that. But yeah, so it's kind of a video done by Shem Phillips and Sam McDonald. If you've never um, or if you didn't know who was kind of behind Garfield games, if you played any of the Architects of the West Kingdom, Paladins of the West Kingdom, Viscounts, Raiders of the North Sea, the South Tigris series, um, that's kind of coming from these two. I think for a while it was just kind of Shem. I don't know exactly when Sam came on. It was during, I think, the West Kingdom series, kind of. And I think he just became more and more involved. Um, but I don't know if maybe there was some relationship already before that, that maybe he was already helping with some things. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it's kind of those two. And then they just kind of talk about what's coming up in the next year-ish or so
Yeah.
for about an hour. So yeah, I would definitely recommend if you're interested in that, hearing from them directly. They'll probably go into maybe a little bit more detail, a little bit more story than maybe we will. So you can I definitely recommend checking it out.
But
But
watch us first, because if you watch
yeah,
them, then there's really no reason to listen to us. So get the kind of short story from us and then go get the rest.
exactly.
And we may
Um,
go for 2 hours here.
I was just gonna say, and then they'll say that our video is longer than their 1 hour and 9 minute video. So we got to keep it under that. But kind of the first thing that they talked about were kind of the two new games, which I think they had put this teaser image out for maybe a couple days before this video. I think might have been a week. I'm not 100% sure when they put it out. But it kind of showed two different games that were going to be in the Ancient series of games that they've done, which I think has had the Raiders of Scythia and Hadrian's Wall. Legacy of You, I think, is in there as well.
Yep.
So it's another couple games in those. And kind of the first one they talked about a little bit was the Anarchy, which I think they had mentioned before that Bobby Hill, who did Hadrian's Wall,
Yep.
if anyone's played that game, I think they mentioned he was working on something else. So if you kind of thought or looked into that a little bit more, or thought about it a little bit more, you might have thought, well, maybe he'll be making a similar game, or will it be, completely
Yep.
different or not? Um, but it sounds like, from what they were saying about it, that it's maybe taking Hadrian's Wall, which I would consider already maybe the heaviest, or at least one of the heaviest flip and right style games. And it's one that I feel like I still haven't really figured out. I haven't played it like a ton where I would feel like I should have figured it out or anything, but at the same time, it just has a lot of, I think, interesting decisions. But this one sounds like it's taking that up a level, which is surprising to me. I don't know Sounds like you're going to be able to kind of make your own choices to kind of, I don't know, sort of engine build, sort of, it sounds like.
Yeah, it already felt like I haven't played Hadrian's Wall as much as you, but it already felt like there were so many different things to touch upon. But I could see that kind of there are still a few paths that you kind of
Hmm.
stick to. Um,
Yeah.
like you said, it does sound like this one brings a little more customization to your strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'll like that quite a bit. And it sounds also like, so I think you're kind of doing the attacking of a castle in this one, it
Um,
sounds like. Um, but I don't remember if it was in this video or if I had heard it somewhere else that, or maybe it was a comment that Shem made that Bobby was maybe working on something where you were playing as kind of the person,
the opposite.
yeah, the opposite
Mm,
side of
yeah,
things. So that'd be kind of interesting because at first I was thinking, oh, a castle defense style game maybe, but I don't think that that's quite what it'll be. But
yeah,
yeah, it'll be interesting. It sounds like it's going to have a solo campaign, which
yeah,
Hadrian's Wall is a game that I haven't played the campaign. I don't remember if that actually comes in the game or if that's just something on like Board Game Geek or something. Um, but I have played that one solo a few times, which I don't play many games solo. So
yeah,
I think it's a really good solo game. And if this has a solo campaign, I'll probably play through it. I know Legacy of You is another game they put out recently that has a solo. It's just solo only. And if it sounded like maybe it would have kind of story, a little bit of story elements, kind of similar to that, maybe,
yeah,
which I felt like was just about the right amount. You kind of would get a
yeah.
little bit of information here or there, but it's not like you're reading pages and pages of stuff. So that would be pretty cool. But yeah, it sounds like it's still one of those kind of solo style games, not really much interaction. So if you like interaction in the games, I don't think this one will probably be probably not for you, it sounds like, at least. But there
Yeah.
is, it sounds like you're drafting cards, so you're at least compete or doing that and competing. Whoever does, sounds like there's tracking of damage or something, which makes me think of Castles of Burgundy, where whoever, has the most ships out there or whatever kind of goes first. It sounds like depending on who's done the most kind of stuff to the castle, kind of gets to go first in the draft order. So be interesting to see how that actually plays out. But yeah, I think this one will probably be pretty heavy. If you have not tried this one, they have recently added it to. They've recently not this one, but they've recently added Hadrian's Wall to Board Game Arena, so you can at least try that one out there. And if you like it, I'm guessing this will probably be more or less some of the similar things since it's the same designer, and it sounds like they made it sound like it was just leveling it up a little bit. So you can try it there, and it sounds like at some point in the future they're also intending or hoping to get more and more of their games on there. So that'll be
Yeah.
cool to be able to get have let more people get more access to trying those games out, and
Yeah.
finding the goodness.
Yeah, for sure. And you can even sell your physical copies, Zach, and
No,
you can clear up some space on the shelves because you have it online,
nope,
right?
that ain't happening. No.
Yeah, I Hadrian's Wall is made. It's not too bad because they definitely have heavier games lately,
Mhm.
Garfield games, and I think that one is still one that I would play and possibly even seek to play and set up and actually get to the table. It still is probably a little heavy for my taste in roll and write and flip and write games. So taking it to another level here, possibly is like you said at the kind of get go. That's probably something a little more exciting for you than me. But I
Mhm.
do really love the artwork that they have from what is it, Sam Phillips. Has
Yep.
done a lot of the artwork for I think all the ancient series of games, and I've really enjoyed it. It's felt refreshing from the Miko artwork, which is also fantastic. But seeing
Mhm.
that for all the Garfield games kind of got a little old for me, and so any new game released from them with this style of artwork, I am excited for. And I think the cover is fantastic.
I would agree. Then they kind of talked about the other game that they have
Yes.
in the Ancient series, and that
Yeah.
is Skara Brae. Was that how it's pronounced? Skara Brae?
Skara Brae, I think. Not sure.
Something like that.
But yeah, I think
Um,
these are, they say, thinking to go to Kickstarter in August of next year, I believe.
yeah,
Both
August
these. So
24.
a little ways off. So I think that's kind of too, like you can go with kind of the Jamie Stegmaier where he does announce it when it's pretty close
Mhm.
to
Month or
being
two.
available. And these are a little farther off. So now this one just from both of these from the covers and look very cool. And then you hear that it's going to be August. Slightly disappointing. It's quite
Right,
a wait.
right. I
At
was
the
kind of
same
hoping it
time,
would be like a summer thing or
yeah,
whatever, so that you'd get it kind of hopefully by the end of the year, early
yeah,
2025.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's late summer.
It's not too far. Yeah,
But yeah, I would agree. It sucks. That is the one thing that sucks about learning about these. Looking at, like you said, the covers are really amazing, and just having to wait. Um, but yeah, that one was the last one was done by Bobby Hill. This one is done by Shem himself. And I think it's only his design, so I don't know. I'm sure Sam helped with development and helped with parts of it, but it must have mainly been Shem because it looks like on the bottom of the box there it's just him.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it sounded like it was going to be a very resource heavy game,
Yes, yeah.
which
A
is
lot of wooden
interesting.
pieces for those resources, meeples, stuff like that,
Right.
which is one thing I like in a game.
Hmm.
I would I think they've always had really amazing wooden components and resources in their games. And obviously, I don't know that much about this, but I think that just seems right up there with their style of games. And I do trust that this one's going to be another solid.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I think just because I'm not sure how much the Anarchy will change from Hadrian's Wall, I think this one I'm a little bit more excited about because it kind of
Too.
seems like it's maybe a little bit more kind of brand new feel. Um, Not saying that the Anarchy won't feel different or new, but I'm probably a little bit more excited about this one than the Anarchy. But they're both really exciting to me, so I don't know if that's really um, there's much of a comparison.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up getting both, I'm sure. But
Hmm.
yeah, they do a great job with their resources, and yeah, just it'll be interesting to see how it works because yeah, he just kind of it seemed like they kept bringing up how many resources were in the game, which
Yeah.
is just like, that sounds like it. And I think they brought up, it might have been Sam brought up architects or something, where you
Oh,
can
yep.
like do an
Kind of
action, and if you
each
keep adding,
additional worker that you put there, they get even more resources. Like your third one will get you three, your fourth one will get you four, type of
mm,
thing. Which I really love that. May not
yeah,
be exactly the same here, but
right.
I
I think
really
he had
enjoy
at
that
least mentioned it.
mechanism.
And yeah, that was one thing that I really one of the mechanisms that I really love from architects. And yeah, if it gives at least somewhat similar of a feel with the mechanisms in this one, I think that would be pretty awesome. But yeah, it sounds like there's also going to be, which I find a little bit interesting, where there's going to be kind of a mechanism where uh, if you get too many of a resource or something, then it's like a waste resource, and I'm assuming that's not a good thing. I'm guessing you get negative points for that, so it's interesting when it's like, sometimes you're trying to make the most efficient thing, you're trying to get as much as possible, but here you might be, I don't know, it sounds like trying to manage that a little bit more to make sure you don't get too much, which is usually not something you think about, I feel like, in many board games. So hopefully that'll actually feel cool and won't like feel restrictive, like, oh, I might as well quit doing or working on this because then I'm just going to get too much, and it's you know
Yeah,
kind of takes away maybe some satisfaction. So hopefully
yeah,
it doesn't feel like that, and it's kind of a cool thing, and maybe it won't be that negative. So it's like, it's worth doing it for some reason or whatever. They usually come up with innovative ways, I feel like, to um, implement some of these things that they do, especially with resources, meeples, whatever they end up using in their games.
yeah, yeah. I this is probably up there. I would say top two most excited of kind of the games that they talked about, and mostly because of this weight only being a 3 out of 5, where the Hadrian's Wall follow-up, the Anarchy, is a 4, which is probably one of the heaviest flip and right games.
Right.
But yeah, it did sound like this one and another one that we'll talk about in a little bit, or a little lighter, a little more approachable. So this one is one that, plus paired with kind of that worker placement resource aspect, I'm pretty excited about this one.
Mhm. Yeah, I kind of figured that this would probably be the second one on your list. But yeah, I am definitely excited. But then getting to kind of well, I think one other thing they had kind of hinted at or mentioned was that they had um, these were kind of the ones they're releasing for now, but they are still continuing to add to the kind of ancient series of games. And one that they're working on, but they didn't want to announce anything, is they're bringing back an old game, and they're working with someone to bring back a game. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. What game that would actually be? Because yeah, I just trying to think of because I'm thinking it's got to be some sort of Euro game. I feel like that's just right up their alley, and just gets me kind of excited to see maybe a Euro that they're going to try to bring back and maybe make it even better. But well,
Jamie
I shouldn't say
Stegmaier,
for sure it's a Euro.
Jamie Stegmaier commented on this live stream, on this video, and so I'm thinking this could be viticulture, this could be Scythe, games that have just kind of gotten overlooked and completely forgotten. Getting a second chance to
Giving them a second chance. It definitely could be. Definitely could be. But yeah, then kind of after they had mentioned that little Easter egg, they talked about Arcus Games, which is another New Zealand company that Shem works with, or I think he's one. I don't know if he's part owner or something like that, and he's designed a couple of their games. I think Shelfie Stacker and um, Dreadful Meadows, and this Storm Raiders is coming out, and I think this was something they had mentioned in a previous one as well. So it's kind of been hanging out there for a little bit, and I think it was initially going to go to Kickstarter late last year, or late this year, I guess 2023, but it's now going to be going out Kickstarter on January 24th, I think he said.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, I think this was one that I was excited for because it seems like it's at least from the look of the game, it looks like something completely different than what Shem would usually work on.
Yeah.
So there's an excitement in that, but at the same time, I don't know that it feels kind of grittier and somewhat browner, which how even though they do a bunch of Euro games, I don't get that feel from their game.
Yeah, they usually do have a lot of color, have some water in there usually somewhere, some green grass, or else kind of with the South Tigris, kind of the yellow and blue type of look. So definitely not this is more wasteland type of feel, which is definitely changing it up. But I mean, it isn't a Garphill game, so
that's true. It's on a different line, so
definitely going for more Mad Max type of theme. I think they talked about, and that's we've played Thunder Road Vendetta, and I enjoy the wackiness and crazy nature of that game. I don't know what this one is going to feel like. I doubt it will be as crazy or as luck dependent as that. But I don't know. I feel like there is a place for that kind of theme and that kind of maybe more exciting nature to kind of blend with the Shem Phillips type of designs that we're used to, with just good mechanics behind them as well. And only a 2 weight on the VGG, which is a little lighter. I knew it wasn't going to be as heavy as the rest, but that does seem pretty light, which only has me more interested.
What? I thought you'd be more interested about the next one that we're going to talk about. You're telling me this was the one you're most interested in ever?
Maybe. I'm not revealing my rankings just yet. But look, there's a tornado, a storm. What's your rating?
I wasn't 100, like I said, I wasn't like, I don't know, insanely excited about this when I first saw it, but as I have seen it, more and more, because I think I follow Arcus Games on Instagram, and I think Shem or Garphill Games has talked about it, a few times now too. As I've seen it more and more, I think I've been a little bit more and more excited about it. And then when he said there's a dice drafting element in there, that got me pretty excited. I tend to like dice drafting quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that works, especially in this kind of feel, and with it being a little bit lighter, I think that'll actually make it better.
Yeah.
Because I think if you try to blend his really heavy games in with this, I mean, it could work, but I don't know. I don't know if it would seem as fun. Whereas, if you keep it on the lighter side, it could be fun. And he's got Noctiluca, which is a dice drafting game as well, which is on the very lighter side. So maybe if it takes any, well, I don't think it probably takes inspiration from that one, but I mean that one's a pretty solid game in my opinion. And that is not a Garphill game or an Arcus game. That's actually a Z-Man game,
Z-Man,
which is surprising. But no, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm decently excited. I guess when was that one supposed? That was January 24th. That's right. That is right. And then this one, Inventors of the South Tigris, which, like I said, they had talked about and announced earlier and talked about in a different live stream. And they mentioned in this one that a lot of the things they talked about in that one didn't actually end up making it into the game, or definitely ended up making some changes to it along the way. Which, for how big and complex these games are, that's just amazing to me that they can change like a lot of these games, and I'm sure have a great idea of it and have pretty much a full game to begin with, but to still be able to adjust it and change it so much with all those moving parts is just amazes me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And it really makes me wonder because I think he even talked about, even though it's not one of the heavier games, he had talked about how I think Storm Raiders, he had been working on it for like 7 years and changed it multiple times over that. And that, like you said, is even a lighter game. So when it gets to be these heavier ones, it's like, I wonder how many ideas they actually are trying and throwing at the wall and, just not working how they want it to and having to try something completely different. It'd just be interesting to see because, the more they talk about these games and the heavier they get, it's just like, my gosh, these two are mathematical scientists. They're the next doctors like Reiner Knizia. But this one sounds like it'll be, I don't know, they'd kind of talked about how for it be multiplayer, instead of being multiplayer solo like a lot of their games are, it's kind of closer to their most recent Scholars of the South Tigris, where there's a little bit more interaction. I feel like that was a decent amount for a Garphill game anyway. Maybe not compared to other games, but for Garphill, it was pretty interactive. And it felt like it was mostly in good ways, which is always good. It was probably all in good ways. Outside of maybe if you got something used that you didn't want, but this one also has that element where you are first like coming up with the idea, so actually inventing it, and then it has to be tested, and then it's actually published, I think. So it sounds like you can either be the one doing all of that for one of them, or you'll have one player build it, and then another player will work on testing it, and just kind of interesting to see how interactive that'll actually be.
Yeah, that interested me because I'm like, when I think of it, I'm just like, okay, do this whole thing by yourself. But then when they introduce, like you said, all the different layers of it, like kind of coming up with the idea, inventing it, testing it, and then finally publishing it, and the fact that you don't have to do the entire thing or take it all the way, and that I assume people can interact and do different parts of it, that was just really intriguing to me. Again, not saying I'm overly excited for the game. This is probably a little too heavy for me, but that part of it, at least theme-wise, was interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I liked the interaction of the in Scholars of the South Tigris where you were um, kind of translating things and stuff, and you'd use other players' translators, and they'd move them down the side. I thought that all flowed really really well. So if it gives some tastes of that, I think that would be pretty solid. Uh, yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one, even though they did say that this is likely their heaviest game that they have yet.
And they you could tell like they wanted to make that point throughout the video.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so I feel pretty safe that this is going to be their heaviest. I do trust them, but they did say it's not unintuitive,
Right.
and I think part of that is the theme that it does make sense why you're doing what you're doing, even though there's a lot of meat and gears um, going together there. It does make sense. That's kind of made me think of Predaporter, which on surface level would probably be a little too heavy for me to really think that that would be one that I would have a liking for, but because the theme is so well integrated with that one, I have really enjoyed my plays of that. So I hope that this is another one like that. Again, I don't know exactly the weight of Predaporter, but that's what that made me think of. So hopefully, like I said, it is pretty intuitive and ties well to a theme to uh, get me enjoying my play. That was one part of that Scholars. I'm mixing up all the names here now. Scholars, where kind of that little mini game on the bottom of translating the languages and the scripts did make thematic sense, and maybe not all parts of the game really felt thematic, but that part did, and that was by far my favorite part in that game. So hopefully this one has a little mini game or two in there that I can enjoy. That's the ceiling here for me. That's what I see myself enjoying, maybe one or two aspects of this one.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm hoping to really really like this one, but yeah, they did say. I mean, they even brought up Vitel Lacerda, who we haven't actually played any of his games, but they're notoriously heavy. So it'll be interesting to see if it actually compares. If people say this is as heavy as those types of games, and I thought they brought up like Terra Mystica and stuff a couple of times, which we've not played either. I'm very interested in playing that one. So hopefully it'll be really solid, and it sounds like it's got a couple mechanics that I don't know, just sound interesting. You've got kind of those little people, inventors on your board that are slowly going up, and then you're having it kind of flip over and trying to get them. I think you can go up to like 10 levels or something. So I think that sounded cool. And then they had talked about throughout this game or throughout each round or turn or whatever, you're playing out actions and stuff, and at some point you're placing this tent on like some action slots or bonus slots or something, and then at that point you get to take you get something extra. I couldn't really
Yeah,
tell it.
like
It
little
gave you different
bonuses
actions or
or
something,
different
bonuses.
little actions, possibly. Kind of like the longer that others stay in the game, you continue to get better and stronger and more benefits. And that's one of the notes I took. That sounded really interesting because
Mhm.
usually, especially in a game where you can kind of manage your resources and outlast people and take more turns than others, sometimes they're just left doing nothing or
Mhm.
just kind of waiting around for the next round or next era or something like that. And this sounded really interesting that you do still continue to get things, and sounded like it's not just like, oh, you're first, here's like maybe a resource or something. Sounded like there
Right.
was a little more to it in this one.
Mhm. Yeah, it was probably that part was probably the thing well, I shouldn't say most excited about. I like what the sounds of everything else too, but I think that sounds cool. Because yeah, usually in those games, I know that um, I don't know. I feel like I tend to outlast a lot of the times, even if I'm not necessarily getting more points or whatever. And even if it's a game that I don't and someone else is, that downtime, if it is like the round ends after everyone's done, it's kind of like, okay, they've got. It makes me think of Tapestry, even though Tapestry, you kind of keep going. It's only the end where you would notice that. But yeah, in this, I mean, that sounds pretty cool. Keeps you sort of invested in like, oh, are they gonna, and are all players gonna place their tent and we're gonna be done, or are they gonna hold out for another round? I'm gonna get another thing. That could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I would say just because I'd probably get it played more with Michaela. Um, I think anyway. Maybe she would like this one. If it's just me, I'd probably pick Inventors as my one I'm most excited about. But I think Skara Brae, or however you pronounce it, would maybe be the one I'm most excited about, and then this one.
Yeah.
And then everything else, still excited for. Probably end up getting all of these at some point. So, but a big fan of Garphill games, so that isn't
Yeah.
necessarily saying that much. But these all sound exciting.
Yeah. I would say Skara Brae and then Storm Raiders are probably definitely my two most excited there. I'm not sure which one I actually do prefer. I do really like the artwork in Skara Brae. I'm not sure who does the art for Storm Raiders. That looked really nice as well. But like I said, I just love the Sam Phillips art style. And just looking forward to this one, probably the most of the Garphill games, but definitely Storm Raiders has my interest as well.
Mm-hmm.
Inventors, not so much. Not so much.
Wow. But yeah, it sounds like if anyone's still watching at this point and haven't already gone to listen to Shem and Sam, they also have a Discord that they mentioned. So if you like their games and you didn't know if you
I
use
just joined
Discord,
it after watching it.
oh boy, then you can get. I think they're having some either play testing or you can try out their games on Tabletop Simulator potentially, or some of these at some point. I don't know. I think Inventors you can now. Well, this video is like almost 2 weeks ago, so you can do that one now. I think. I guess I haven't actually checked it myself to see if you can. Um, but then I think the other ones are probably eventually going to come. They usually do all of them, and that's where you'll find that. So if you like Garfield games and haven't done that, you can join that. Otherwise, I guess one other thing going back to Inventors, they did say that in the past they've done a Saga box after they've done kind of their trilogy of games for the West Kingdom and North Sea. And this one, they're not releasing it at the same time as Inventors. They're actually waiting to see what they do with expansions for the 3 games and then releasing it next year alongside 3 expansions. So they're apparently in 2025 planning, at least now, and things could change. But to release 3 or 1 expansion for each of the South Tigris games, along with that Tomb Saga, and sounds like he's hoping to make it more of a campaign. I haven't played either of the other 2 as to how they really work, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully, giving it that extra time, maybe will make it the best out of all of them. So,
So I think that was going to be. I think this will be kind of late February, March. That they're going to have this, and then it would be March as well of the next year, 2025. That currently planning on that saga.
But yeah, otherwise, I think that's kind of everything they talked about. They answered some questions and stuff, so you can go listen to that at the end of their thing, and they kind of gave a little bit more story to each of them before they talked about them. If you want to hear that as well. But yeah, I'd say I'm pretty excited for all of these, and let us know in the comments below what you're most excited for out of all of them, if any. Hopefully, you're as excited as I am, because I know these are probably going to make. Well, depending on when they come and stuff, and well, I've already got some coming with their. Now I'm blanking. Raider or Shipwrights, Redux, and what was the most recent one, Pepper? Now I'm blanking.
Ezra?
Ezra and Nehemiah. I think those are going to come next year. They're probably going to be some of my top games of the year. Definitely, check out our top 10 new to us games in 2023 that'll come out in early January to maybe see some Garfield games from some people or person. But otherwise, that's all we got for you this time. check out our other videos, subscribe if you like the content. Otherwise, we hope to see you on the next one. And as always, don't forget to
Keep on nibbling.
on our content.